We are planning on stopping them to give us enough time to have a proper negotiation with police present.
Tonight, an update on land defenders who are attempting to protect the Lemay forest in Winnipeg.
That's when we knew we had to look at an agreement of some sort to help us understand, help the hospital understand, to provide those better services for our families.
A new agreement between an Indigenous family service agency and an Ontario hospital looks to provide culturally appropriate services to Indigenous families.
Kind of educating in a very easy, kind of simple way about what's impacting the water in the rivers, especially close to the cities.
A new 13-part series about our connections with the water is set to premiere tonight on APTN. Good evening, I'm Savannah Kelly. Welcome to APTN National News. On September 9th, 2021, 9-year-old Bailey Maurice was walking her scooter across a street when she was hit by a truck driven by Taylor Kennedy. Kennedy admitted to vaping marijuana and microdosing magic mushrooms the day before. On December 13th, 2024, Kennedy's impaired driving causing death charge was stayed in a Saskatoon court. Judge Jane Wooten ruled Kennedy's charter rights were violated because she was not tried within a reasonable time. On January 6th, 2025, the Crown filed an appeal. The Saskatchewan Court of Appeal has yet to decide if they will hear the case. APTN will provide updates as they become available. And a sad update now on a story we first brought you last week. The RCMP in Saskatchewan have issued a news release saying that 50-year-old Orlando Okimesum has been found dead. Okimesum was a member of the Beardies and Okimesum First Nation northeast of Saskatoon. He went missing from the Sturgeon Cree Nation near Prince Albert on Christmas Day. The RCMP release does not say how he died or where and when he was found, but it does say Orlando's death does not appear to be suspicious. The Saskatchewan Coroner Service is investigating. The Sturgeon Lake and Beardies Okimesum communities had been rallying around Orlando's family, who had spearheaded search efforts. Land defenders opposing the removal of trees in the Lemay forest are staying put after the property owner and developer attempted to access the land Wednesday morning. An injunction ordering the defenders not to impede access was extended Monday, but they remained on site, saying they wouldn't leave without police presence. Reporter Sierra Bettens has more.
Land defenders and members of the Coalition to Save Lemay Forest have been stationed here since late December. They're fighting to stop the landowner, the Churchill Development Group of Toronto, from removing trees on what they say is sacred land.
We are planning on stopping them to give us enough time to have a proper negotiation with police present.
On December 31st, court granted an interim injunction ordering them to not impede access to the property owner's land. On Monday, the injunction was extended but not expanded. On Wednesday morning, the developer's planner arrived with a large truck intending to access the land. He returned on 2 separate occasions with a bobcat. But the Coalition told him they wouldn't move until police arrived.
I'm hearing them, but they're not moving out of the way of the equipment.
Later, Transcona City Councillor Russ Wyatt announced that Councillor Marcus Chambers is filing a motion urging the city to expropriate the lands for a public park.
My hope is that the owner of the property hears this, ceases and desists from his decision to cut the trees down, which is somewhat spiteful in the fact that he has not received an approval for development, in light of the fact that the city is now contemplating expropriation.
Louise May speaks for the Coalition. She says they plan to file an injunction based on the Cemeteries Act. Past research commissioned by the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs found approximately 1,500 burials in the Asile Rochelle Cemetery, which is in the Lemay Forest. However, the exact location of the cemetery is unknown.
There are at least 1,500 dead children, infants buried here. That needs to come to light, and there are likely thousands more. So there are 30 years where we don't have records of the deaths here. So that is, a major piece of St. Norbert history, Manitoba history, even Canadian history.
However, Winthrop says the developer will continue to cut down trees in the Lemay forest.
We're not looking to preserve the trees. We've told multiple times we're not preserving these trees.
Why? Give me an honest answer. Why?
The honest answer is the landowner has got tired of everybody saying they're my trees. You should be forced to do something.
So you're just going to cut down all the trees
enough.
in spite? In spite?
You don't own the trees.
Doesn't matter if you own the trees
you
or
don't
not.
own the trees.
Why cut them down?
We're moving on. We said for 18 months we are moving on.
You have no development.
By noon, Winthrop and his team had left the site. APTN will continue to follow the story. Sierra Buttons, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba's Health Authority is investigating after a patient died while he was waiting for care in a Winnipeg hospital.
We did have a number of high acuity patients at that time. Our resus beds were all full at that time as well. We also had a number of patients in the emergency department. When we see cold weather like this, we do have a number of patients that come in seeking shelter and safety as well, and that was a factor in the waiting room as well.
The patient was described as a middle-aged male and a low acuity patient. Hospital staff reassessed him in the waiting room and noticed his condition significantly worsened. He was transported to a resuscitation room and died a short time later. The hospital's chief operating officer said there were roughly 50 patients in the overnight emergency department at the time. As of Tuesday afternoon, patients were waiting an average of 8 hours for treatment in the hospital's adult emergency department. The province says it's launching a critical incident review into the man's death. A Northern Ontario-based Indigenous Family Services agency has entered into an agreement with a local hospital. It's to ensure culturally appropriate services to Indigenous families. As APTN's Mike McDonald reports, the deal solidifies a shared commitment to the safety and well-being of Indigenous children, youth, and families.
Officials at Nogda-Windaman Family and Community Services say a new protocol agreement with Sioux Area Hospital is rooted in Anishinaabe teachings and traditions and establishes a clear framework for cooperation and communication between the organizations.
At times when our families would attend the hospital, we had found that perhaps there might not have been that cultural sensitivity. So we helped with building that knowledge and helping them understand that it is really important to provide that different service to our families.
While not getting into specifics, Kennedy says some incidents at the hospital prompted Nogda-Windaman to initiate a dialogue with Sioux Area Hospital.
There had been times when we had brought our children to the hospital and we had found that the reception wasn't the best at the time, and it was hard to navigate some of those services. Even as workers, we found that difficult. So, helping, so that's when we knew we had to look at an agreement of some sort to help us understand, help the hospital understand, to provide those better services for our families.
And Kennedy says the hospital has been open to the agreement from the start and has been engaging in special training for staff.
Definitely, the hospital was very receptive. We've had many meetings, like I'd mentioned. We've had meetings in the lodge with them. We've passed tobacco. We've helped them understand, the importance of utilizing culture and recognizing the uniqueness of our communities.
Meantime, officials at Sioux Area Hospital say the partnership with Nogda-Windaman reflects a deep commitment to supporting families and creating compassionate and culturally centered care. Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Sault Ste. Marie.
In Newfoundland and Labrador, politicians are debating a new massive hydroelectricity agreement. It's an agreement that proponents say will heal old, bitter wounds in the province. After decades of anger and resentment about a 1969 contract, Newfoundland and Labrador has made a new deal with Quebec. But opposition politicians say more needs to be done to avoid a repeat of terrible old mistakes. CTV's Garrett Berry explains.
Endeavoring to rip it out. It came with great fanfare, a new contract for Churchill Falls Power to replace a deal so lopsided it became despised. in Newfoundland and Labrador. Politicians in the province are now debating this new deal between Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador as Premier Andrew Furey repeats his promises. It could change everything.
Unfortunately, for generations, one of Newfoundland and Labrador's best exports has been our people. This is going to be tens of thousands of jobs. 4 mega projects.
The agreement would mean Quebec pays more for power it buys in the massive Churchill Falls hydroelectric plant. It also begins to lay out the terms for expansions and developments of new projects in Labrador. As part of an advertising blitz, the Newfoundland and Labrador government has promised more than $225 billion in revenue over the lifetime of this proposed contract, and an equal share with Quebec, instead of the pennies that it used to get for Churchill Falls power.
What do you think? Is it the best deal? Well, I would argue that based on the concerns that have been expressed, we can't answer that question.
Opposition politicians in the province say it needs more oversight, not just from consultants and lawyers that the government has hired, but from a fully independent body. They've been asking the government whether this deal gets the most revenue possible for the province.
We're repeating the mistakes of the past if we don't take our time to simply slow down, pause, send it to someone like the Public Utilities Board.
In this province, that's a dire warning, because the history books here are littered with big projects that came with big promises that became big anchors on the province's wealth. Everybody agrees that can't happen again. Debate on this agreement continues until Thursday, but already opposition politicians say they can't support a deal without more outside oversight. Garrett Barry, CTV News, St. John's.
Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Andrew Furey has weighed in on Donald Trump's annexation threat. Furey says Trump's comments should not be dismissed as a joke, and he had a pointed message for the incoming president.
This is a strong and sovereign country, and it will always be a strong and sovereign country. And to have, unfortunately, our best friend, what I would say is threaten our sovereignty is completely unacceptable. Sovereignty comes at an incredible price, a price paid by blood, by Canadians and Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And to try to take that away is going to come at a significant cost.
Trump's latest comments follow his threats to impose a 25% tariff on goods coming in from Canada and Mexico, citing border security. Donald Trump's proposal to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America got a sarcastic response from Mexico's president today.
¿Por qué no le llamamos América Mexicana? Se oye bonito, ¿no?
Standing in front of a global map, Claudia Sheinbaum dryly proposed that North America should be renamed Mexican America. She said a founding document dating from 1814 that precedes Mexico's constitution referred to it that way. Sheinbaum also noted the Gulf of Mexico had been named that way since 1607. We need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll tell you about a new 13-part series on our connection to water that will be premiering soon on APTN.
We tell the story of, Mother Earth and, how the rains come down and then push through the underground caverns that clean and filter the water.
Welcome back to APTN National News. A new 13-part series is about our connection to water, and it's about to premiere right here on APTN. Video journalist Tina House caught up with movie star Tantu Cardinal, who narrates the series.
Water Worlds pushes our imagination to go under the water and look at the world from the ocean's point of view.
A new series written, directed, and produced by Len Morissette takes a closer look at the state of fresh water and ocean water and its vital importance to all living things.
Episode 1 sets up the two-eyed sea and our stewardship, and we start off at Haida and work with their guardians and watchmen. And then pretty much episode 2 on walks through every part of the environment. So we tell the story of, like, Mother Earth and, how the rains come down and then push through the underground caverns that clean and filter the water.
Morissette says he had never seen anything that featured an underwater show that was told through an Indigenous lens, and to shoot the series, they started in Newfoundland and worked their way across the country.
At the end of the episode, you can see how everything is tied together and how we're tied, and the teachings with the killer whale, with the Wasanic people, and then how, one will affect the other.
He knew he wanted actress Tantu Cardinal to narrate the show, and she agreed to it.
Tantu is a strong warrior woman, and she breathed life into the words of, like, the scripting, and just, I can't say enough about her. She's so awesome. She just trusted the path.
We caught up with Tantu when she was recently at Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week and talked to her about Water Worlds.
Water World is water scientists working with traditional people and how they work together to make our water world healthier. And then kind of educating in a very easy, kind of simple way about what's impacting the water in the rivers, especially close to the cities.
Cardinal also says working on the show gave her an opportunity to remember and relearn her traditional language.
I don't consider myself Creek and Burson, but I said, have a translator do it, and I would really love to see if that I can do this, And what I discovered is because my grandmother, spoke mostly Cree, and here all this Cree was in my head, and here was a place to bring it forward.
I hope people see that, maybe what we're facing, environmentally, it is a huge conversation, but you can do it in bite-sized pieces. Like, what can you control in your backyard? Because at the end of the series, you're going to understand how each system works, and it's all connected together. It doesn't matter where you come from, on this planet. We're all under the one sky.
Water Worlds makes its world premiere on APTN on January the 9th. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
We need to step aside for one more quick break. Our photo of the day and weather are up next. Stay with us. welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Over the holidays, Laura's nephew Ben took this photo of his fancy new pleasure cruiser along the shores of 3 Mile Lake, located in southern Ontario. Thanks for sharing that photo, Laura. For the chance to be our next photo of the day, send your photos to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting off on the east coast, 2 degrees and snow for Halifax, +1 in Charlottetown. Nain, snowy and -2, Kuujjuaq, 0 degrees. Saguenay, snowy and -5, Quebec City, -3. Sarnia, -5, mostly sunny there, Peterborough, -7. Elliott Lake, -10, Big Trout Lake, snowy and -9. Churchill, snowy, -23, Norway House, -19. Winnipeg, snowy, -3, Dauphin, -3 as well. Yorkton, snowy, -7, Saskatoon, -5. Stony Rapids, snowy and -20, -3 for Buffalo Narrows. Snowy and 0 for Grand Prairie, -11 in Fort Chip. 0 degrees and sunshine for Calgary, +1 for Edmonton. 6 degrees, mix of sun and cloud for Vancouver, Kamloops, +1. Smithers, snowy and 4 degrees, -6 for Fort Nelson. Beaver Creek, snowy and -16, -12 for Rock River. Sunshine and -24 in Wati and Yellowknife. Paulatuck, -22 there, Sax Harbor, sunshine and -23. Chesterfield, snowy, -13, Baker Lake, -19. Clyde River, -26, mix of sun and cloud, and -11 in snow for Iqaluit. It's a song etched into the country's soundtrack, the theme from The Littlest Hobo. A popular TV series from the 1980s, fans are now rallying to give the show and its iconic theme the recognition they believe it deserves. Here's CTV's John Venevali Rao.
This is the original score.
That's it.
This is it here.
Wow. Terry Bush showed us a piece of Littlest Hobo history. After 45 years, he's still got the handwritten sheet music.
Right there. Do-wee-oo.
That he used to create the TV theme beloved by millions.
There's a voice keeps on calling me.
That's Terry's voice you hear.
Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down.
A song so many of us remember from our childhoods.
Maybe tomorrow I wanna settle down.
And covered countless times.
Every stop I make a new friend.
I couldn't believe the effect on people that it had and still does to this day.
This is your moment! Some of those fans pushing to get both the show and song a star on Canada's Walk of Fame.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
In the late 1970s, Bush was writing jingles. When he was asked to take a shot at creating the theme...
Say, he hasn't got a collar, Harry, or a license tag.
...for a reboot of a TV series being produced by CTV. And originally based on an American movie about a wandering German shepherd who helps strangers.
He explained what it was about, the dog going from town to town. I said, sure.
Bush asked a friend, John Crossan, to come up with the lyrics. And using this very guitar, Bush says he created the melody in about 20 minutes.
I was very pleased with it. I thought it's a nice song, a nice little country song, and it's good.
But executives at CTV rejected the song several times before finally giving it the go-ahead.
Never in my wildest imagination did I think it would do what it did.
So if you want to join me...
The Littlest Hobo ran for 6 seasons and eventually aired in dozens of countries, including Japan and the UK, where pub-goers would sing the theme.
In the bars at night, when they closed at night, they played the song. It was the closing theme for the pubs. There's a voice that keeps on calling me.
He's now 82 and hadn't sung it in years, but Bush was kind enough to play it again for us.
Maybe tomorrow I'll find what I call home.
A petition on change.org calls for the show and Bush to get that star.
I think we're about 5,500 signatures so far.
Podcaster Craig Baird came up with the idea after hearing Batman was being honored on Hollywood's Walk of Fame.
I thought, that the littlest hobo is kind of Canada's Batman. He essentially fights crime, goes from town to town.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me.
David Glabay is among the musicians promoting the petition.
We'll always be. That song is just a piece of Canadian history right there, and I think he really deserves a lot more recognition for that.
A classic show and song that refuses to move on, unlike the hobo.
Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on.
John Benavali Rao, CTV News, Ajax, Ontario.
That's a great story to leave you guys with tonight. That's all the time we have for your Wednesday news. For news anytime, head on over to our website at aptnnews.ca. I'm Savannah Kelly. Marcy Miigwech, thank you for joining us. Have a great night.